Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Built in Buffalo Tailgate's official pregame show, Bills and Bengals, biggest game of the season. Mike Shimbersky, long time. How you doing, my friend?
Good. I'm glad to have you jump in and substitute for Anthony Sauce God. He'll be missed, but I think we're going to have a great show. I'm excited. It's Bills football night, Monday Night Football. We've had primetime games all season. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm used to the Sunday 1 o'clock slot, man. That's when I'm used to seeing my Bills football. The fact that there wasn't Bills football on yesterday irritates me, but it's a new year. The Bills have not won this year yet, so we got to get going here. Of course, shout out to everybody in the comments. We got my boy out here, Aaron. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. We got Bobby. Mark is out here as well. Is this the biggest game of the season, Mike?
I think it's the biggest game as far as the biggest game of the season for especially the Bills, yes, because the implications that this game has now, because everything has come down to this as far as the way things have shaken out for this season. The Bills normally don't have everything go their way. I would say I'm used to it always being like we always have a tough sledding where, we need certain people to lose and they never do. And I think this is exactly where we want to be. And so if the Bills want to prove anything tonight, that this is it right here. Yeah, you beat these Bengals. You keep a threshold on that number one seed. We want the playoffs to come through Buffalo, and so this is a biggest game as any that we could have throughout the season.
It's the biggest game of the week, right? It's the only game between two teams with winning records. The Bills are on a 6-game win streak. The Bengals are on a 7-game win streak. This is a playoff game. It really is. This is a playoff game, and it may be a playoff game that we see later on. But, Mike, they're talking some trash over there in Cincinnati. And I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know what you've heard, what you haven't heard. I want to give you a direct quote from running back Joe Mixon, who has had one good game this year. But other than that, the Cincinnati Bengals, I believe I have them ranked in 26th in rushing yards per game this year. And Joe Mixon is out here talking this kind of mess. And he says, in response to the Bills linebackers being good, he says, they're a good defense as a whole. They're a solid linebacker group, but I mean, they're not the Ravens. Now, break this down for me. Do the Ravens have better linebackers than the Bills?
I don't think the Ravens now have better linebackers than the Bills. I mean, if you want to go back in time in a time capsule and pull out
right?
Ray Lewis, then
Ray
sure.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Terrell Suggs back in
Suggs.
the day. Did he even play with those guys? He didn't. So I don't know where he's getting this. And then Tyler Boyd, wide receiver, who caught the infamous touchdown that had the Bills break that drought and get into the playoffs. He was talking a little bit, and there's a little bit to be said about this, but I don't think this is necessarily an insult the way that Joe Mixon was talking. Tyler Boyd said that the Bills' defense is kind of basic. They don't do too much disguising. It's kind of straightforward. They don't do all the trickery things we've seen in a lot of defenses. But again, man, they're playing us, so every team kind of prepares differently for us. We're prepared for everything however they want to play it. Now, I don't think that's as much of a diss as what Mixon was going for, but of course the internet wants to take things a different way. And then Mixon also says that the Bengals are the big dogs of the AFC and the playoffs go through them. I think he needs to be reminded of how the seeds work, because as of now, the Bengals are in the 3 seed, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think he needs to be reminded, and not only that, I mean, I don't think that the Bills have really brought out everything that they are going to do when it comes to playoffs. They've been holding on to some things. I think they've been basic on purpose, because they actually I think he's wrong also. I mean, I don't know what tape he's watching, but if you see what they do to young quarterbacks, they confuse young quarterbacks a lot. It gets hard for them to figure out the defense because the Bills do a lot of disguising as far as it's not blitzes or anything. It's just coverage disguise. So, they think that they have a wide open receiver and he ends up being double covered, or he runs into coverage because of the zone scheme that they like to run. And they like to make it seem like at the snap that somebody's covering that guy specifically, and then they change it. And then so it does get confusing if you're a young quarterback. Maybe he just doesn't – it's nothing that's new to him, so he just doesn't think that it's impressive. But I guess we'll see because this secondary right now, I'm actually pretty excited to see how they handle this receiving core. It's going to be a big test.
Yeah, for sure. Cincinnati has some scary receivers, and we'll get to them a little bit later. Comment here from Roy, who says, can't blame a player for showing confidence. Now, Roy, I agree with you 100%. I don't blame players for showing confidence. Guys like Sauce Gardner, guys like Jair Alexander when he shut down Justin Jefferson and hit the gritty in his face. My problem is that when a player who isn't performing very well, right, Joe Mixon, his team being 26th in rushing yards, saying this kind of stuff about a defense that has been in the top 5 for the past 4 years or so now. The Bills have been the number 1 defense in the NFL. So to come out and say something about their linebackers, like, you're just feeding the fire, right? I'm not that old, Mike. I'm not as old as you. But I remember a story from the Bills and Washington Redskins at the time, the Super Bowl, when one of the Bills coaches was going after Washington's offensive line, right? And he was talking all this mess, and then Washington's offensive line absolutely destroyed the Bills. This is what I'm reminded of when I hear people talk trash. It's like, I'm not against it, right? I think it's cool for the game, but I don't like the way that he's talking. Like, you're not the guy that's going to beat us, right? Joe Mixon is not going to be the guy. He's not going to be the catalyst coming in. But Mike, how do you feel about the Bills coming into this game? They took care of business in Chicago last week. It wasn't as handedly as some people wanted, though it was kind of out of hand. I want your thoughts on the Bills as a whole.
I think that Chicago, there's a lot to take from there. You know, they still found a way to win, and they won in a convincing fashion. It might not have been right away in the beginning of the game, but they took off with it when it mattered, you know, and then they end up putting up 35 points. I like this Bills team this season. It's a different squad than last season. I thought last season they had more firepower, I guess, or they were a more high-powered offense, but their stats are still pretty solid. And I think what they've learned this season more than anything is that you don't have to sit there and put it all on Josh's shoulders. Mm-hmm. They've found a way to where he's not having to carry the team anymore. There's other contributing players. The run game sprinkled in quite a bit now. You know, James Cook is kind of taken off. Devin Singletary's doing his thing. And so that's helping a lot. And what they've done, too, is they've kind of switched to if the run game's not going very well, then they still get those running backs involved in the passing game with a quick check down, for 7 yards, 8 yards. You know, they try to get closer to the first down sticks early in drives so that you're not behind the sticks. And they use those running backs a lot more than they did last season. And it's showing is because Josh isn't being asked to be the hero all the time. When he needs to be the hero, he steps up, he does it. But it's not him single-handedly winning football games anymore. That the team it's a true team this season, I think.
And not only are the running backs getting more involved in the passing game, but the fact that they go over 100 yards, almost both of them, right, against Chicago for the first time in 14 games. The Bills had the second longest streak in the NFL of a running back not going over 100 yards. It happened last week, so you finally get over that hump. But I want to talk about Stefon Diggs, man. And that's why I'm rocking the him t-shirt today, because I was disappointed with the way he was used last week against the Chicago Bears. Only 2 targets the entire game. He catches them both. Why was he not involved more? What is going on with the play calls? Because my first thing, right, Mike, I know you're a former quarterback, so you can help me out with this. The first person I blame for Josh's struggles as of late, even against Chicago to a degree, he really didn't have that great of a game. The first person I blame is Josh, because he takes the snap, he sees the reads. The second person I blame is Ken Dorsey, because he's calling the plays and he's giving the guys the routes. So what is going on with Stefon Diggs, and why are we not trying to get him the ball? I don't want to force it, but your number one receiver should get more than 2 targets a game.
Yeah, I think you're onto something a little bit, but at the same time, that the games are tough. You know, like it depends on what their defense is doing. Sometimes a whole game plan can be based around taking one guy out of the game. And then that's when you need to adjust and you need to call plays that involve other players. It seemed like they were going off of mismatches, and Dawson Knox seemed to have the mismatch. The guy, the person that he had on him was usually a linebacker or a bigger.
But that's how it is. That's how it is every week with a tight end. You're always going to have a linebacker on you. And
it looked like it must have been that their linebacker in specific wasn't able to really keep up with Dawson Knox, and so they were, taking advantage of that. and they got other players involved. I think the Bears were really trying to do their best to really make sure that Diggs didn't get his touches and his catches, and they were double teaming him a lot of the game. And I think so, and it was schemed that way. And sometimes when they do that, you have to find other ways to get other guys involved and get the ball, spread it around.
Yeah.
You don't want because you don't want to do exactly what you said. You don't want to force it. If you got a guy like Diggs, of course you want to get him the ball. Anyone in their right mind, if that you got a receiver like that and you're playing quarterback, that's your first read all the time. That's the guy you're looking for almost every single play. And if it's there, you're going to get it to him. But you can't go forcing it. That's when you end up getting turnovers. That's when you get frustrated because what you're trying to do isn't working and you're not doing anything to change your plan. They did a good job at adjusting. They got other players involved, and it turned out to be exactly what the Bills needed in a cold weather game like that. Got the ball on the ground, produced plenty of points to win. And it's actually, I understand your disappointment, but I love when I can see a game where it's not the same guys contributing, and you're able to put points on the board. It means you have a strong supporting cast. But don't get me wrong, I'd love to see 14 go off today.
I don't think the Bills do have a strong supporting cast. I don't think they do. Gabe Davis has been highly disappointful the way he's played football this year. Dawson Knox really hasn't gotten going until the last couple of weeks. The running backs just got into it. But as a whole, the Bills really don't have a lot of talent outside of Stephon Diggs in that wide receiver room. But I want to get to a couple comments here. First from Kyle. Do you think the bye week, if we take the number 1 seed, will do Buffalo any good? 100%, Kyle. 1 billion% even. I didn't play football myself, but I do know the rest would help a lot of the guys, especially Jordan Poyer, who is expected to play tonight, I believe. Do we have any confirmation on Poyer? If you guys know anything, let us know. But I think for sure, Josh has been nursing an injury all year. It would be huge for Buffalo to not only get the bye week, but have home field advantage in the playoffs, because what Buffalo does, right? They win at home, they lose on the road. That's what the statistics say. So I think it would do us plenty of good to get that. And I want to get to one more comment here from Aaron, who says, I feel more confident playing the Bengals tonight compared to when we play Kansas City. Now, I think this is interesting, Aaron, because you and I watched the Kansas City game together. First of all, it was a good time. Go Bills. and they end up getting the victory there. But I disagree with this right now, because Kansas City has been playing not so great football. They almost lost the Denver Broncos, in fact, just yesterday. They really didn't have that good of a game plan. They lost to the Colts this year. Kansas City is a good team. It's a well-coached team. It has Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, has all those stars, right? But Cincinnati is hot. A 7-game win streak. They've been scoring crazy numbers here. Let me give you the Bengals statistics in some categories. 6th in the league in points per game at 26. The last time they lost, Mike, was Halloween, and they are 4th in passing yards per game. So this is a scary team. It's not like this is a team to look at lightly. They may have been a dark horse in the playoffs last year, but Cincinnati is for real. Let's get into the quarterbacks, Mike. Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow. Now, this is going to be a debate probably forever, as long as both quarterbacks are both in the league. But right now, I feel like Joe Burrow is playing better football than Josh Allen.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is. They're not the same. They're not the same quarterback. As far as us as being Bills fans, we've learned to know what we can expect from Josh Allen. You're going to see highlight level plays every week. Even if he's having a bad game, there's still going to be something that is done that's a highlight reel worthy. He comes with a tenacity about him. He's a tough guy. He's a big quarterback. Loves contact. He makes some crazy throws, some ill-advised ones, but sometimes, hey, it works out more times than not as of late. And you know what he can do with his legs. So Josh Allen is what we've grown to know what to expect from Josh Allen. He's a great quarterback. He's had some struggles this season, but I still think he's somebody that I would want out on that field, playing quarterback for me. On the flip side of the coin, Joe Burrow is cool and calm under pressure in the pocket, and he can move well in the pocket. He's not as mobile as Josh Allen, but he still buys himself time when he needs it, and he has a hell of a deep ball. When he has a guy that if he can see downfield, a guy that he wants, he does put up a very nice deep ball where it's catchable, or he trusts his receivers. He lets them do 50-50 balls, and a lot of times they come down with it for him. So he has a strong receiving core, and he's good at reading the field. He's progressed so well I knew he was going to be good from his first season, just because as a rookie he did solid, and you're only going to get better, especially if you got the right crew around you, and it seems like he does. So Joe Burrow's hot right now, and so this secondary for the Bills is really going to have to be on tonight in order to make sure that they cool off a little bit and at least give the Bills a chance to be in this and keep Joe Burrow on the sideline.
Yeah, one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time, of course, there at LSU. I want to get to a comment here from Diane. Diane says, if Cincinnati is so good, why aren't they number one? This is an easy answer, Diane. Joe Burrow missed time this year. Jamar Chase missed time this year. If Josh Allen missed time, I don't think the Bills would be number one either. It's about getting hot at the right time.
And if I may, too, it's football is a team sport, so it's not. Yeah, they are good, but their offense is better than their defense, and so the other part of this too is if you don't outscore the other team, or you're allowing them to put up a decent amount of points. I mean, the losses that they do have, I think, was mainly on their defense. And again, like you said, Joe Burrow missed some time, so did Jamar Chase.
Yeah, just the fact that you're missing your number one quarterback, your number one wide receiver, I think you're going to lose some games. But Joe Burrow may be playing better, but I'm riding with Josh. I'm riding with Josh every day. And one of the things that I notice about both of these guys, right, Mike, and it's weird because they're so young, and we're seeing this more and more as the years go on. Of course, the NFL is a young man's game, right? These guys are so confident. It does not matter if it's Sunday night football, Monday night football, Thursday night, Super Bowl, playoffs, right? Both of these guys really play well under pressure, under the lights, when it matters most. That's why this game is so interesting, right? This has never happened. Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow in the NFL has not happened. And I would argue that Bobby here says Burrow is playing better because of their offensive coordinator. I say Burrow's playing better because they surrounded him with better weapons. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Do you think Joe Mixon's better than both Bills running backs? I would probably take Joe Mixon over both Bills running backs. Just in terms of what he's done in his career thus far, in terms of his production, I think he is the better player. Now, the tight end, I would argue that the Bills probably have him beat. The offensive line is a problem for Cincinnati. The Bills are missing Von Miller. There's so many ways to go, right, with this Bills and Bengals match. It may not be the only time we see it. So, Mike, make sure you have some notes written down for when you have to talk about the Bengals again in a couple weeks down the road. Let's get to the Bills offense, though. Give me some keys to the game for the Bills offense coming into this humongous contest in Cincinnati.
So what I know that the Bills are they're more than capable of keeping up in a shootout, especially because of the fact that they have 17 on the field. But I think what I would want to do if I was trying to game plan for this is long sustaining drives that come out with points and take time off the board. I'd like to see the Bills start out getting first downs and then ending with a touchdown. But I want a long drive, like 12 plays, 12, 13 play drives that eat clock and end in points and keep Joe Burrow on the sideline. That's the goal here. You don't want an offense like Cincinnati out there doing exactly what I just said, where they're out there and they're taking up time and not allowing Josh to have the football and then coming away with points. They're explosive also. So I mean, you might take this long drive and score, and then all of a sudden they get on there and they're only on the field for like a minute and they got a touchdown on you. So you're gonna want to be able to keep up or at least get ahead and stay ahead. And like I said, keep Joe Burrow on the sideline. So that means hold on to the football. Don't make stupid mistakes, especially in the red zone where, that's going to cost us later because you needed those points. Get the run game going when if you can, so that, it's not all on Josh. But I'm serious about the long sustaining drives. I just want to see Joe Burrow sit the bench. I want him to sit the bench most of the game because if he's on the bench, he's not scoring points. And so that means the Bills have a chance to win. I think that I'm nervous, but I am confident as far as, and that goes a long way. You mentioned their confidence. It's because of how confident 17 is all the time. And this Bills football team, their confidence is contagious. So I'm confident with them. I can feel it in my stomach, though. The closer we get to game time, I'm just getting a little jittery. But
you're our Josh Allen lookalike. If you need to go throw up before the game, just like him, it's okay.
Yeah, I'll go do that really quick, just so that we're all. You don't want to be too superstitious, but sure, I'll go do that really quick.
Yeah, good to go. You know what, Mike? I'm going to disagree with you here, because my point coming into this game is about who's hot, right? And Cincinnati is the hot team. We're both hot. 7-game win streak, 6-game win streak. I want this to come down to Josh Allen. I want Josh Allen to be able to take over this game the way that he has taken over so many games in his career thus far, because right now is the time where we need it most. This is a must-win game for the Buffalo Bills. And a shout out here to Brian, of course, from Breaking Tables. Brian, thanks for coming out. If you guys are unaware, Breaking Tables are going to be live right after us here at 7 o'clock on the Built in Buffalo YouTube channel. Be sure to catch it. If you're on Facebook, stick around. If you're on Twitter, stick around. Make sure to catch Brian and Tampa Neal on Breaking Tables right after the show. But I think that this is where I need him. Like, this is where I need Josh to show me that, like, my message last week was that I wanted him to see that other guys could do it. And that's what we saw. We saw the running backs really get involved. Dawson Knox had a really good game. The defense played really well. Justin Fields was holy. Leslie Frazier's game plan last week was amazing. I want to see that again, but I want to see Josh turn it on, because I really have not seen it. He turned it on against Miami. But other than that Miami game and that Kansas City game, when's the last time we really talked about Josh's performance being elite?
I mean, I thought that he played well against the second go around with the Jets. I thought he played well.
Okay. It was decent. It was decent, yeah. But I don't think it was Josh. You know what I mean? We haven't seen Josh, and maybe that's because of the injury. Maybe it's because of other factors. But I need him. I need him to show me why he's our guy. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's kind of contradicting sometimes, because we also want the other guys to show up, and he shows up in these big moments. So that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a big day from 17. Let's go to the other side of the ball. And before we get into the Bills defense, just tell me, on the Cincinnati offense, who are you most threatened by, scared of, afraid of, worried about?
I mean, Chase. I mean, all day. As long as he's healthy, that's their number one guy. He's basically, he's like Stephon Diggs. He's a very good wide receiver. He's fast. He's big. He can scorch you if you let him, and you give the Bengals a chance with one-on-one coverages. They'll take advantage of that. And he wins 50-50 balls. He's a very good route runner. I mean, that's a receiver that scares me. They better game plan for him, but they can't forget about their other receivers also. But definitely key in on Chase. Make sure that he doesn't hurt you, because he can. He can get you for big yardage and score points. He's good.
He's insane. Jamar Chase is absolutely insane. He came into the league and was basically a top 10 receiver his rookie year. But let's go into Cincinnati's offense. And I think when you're talking about offense, you want to look at defensive statistics, right? So I have the Bills and Bengals statistics against the pass and against the run. Now, the Bills against the pass this year are 14th in the league in terms of passing yardage allowed, and they are 4th in the league at rushing yardage allowed. So I think what you need to worry about most is obviously Burrow, but I want to stop the run, not allow the play action game to get going from Cincinnati. We've seen how the play action can hurt the Buffalo Bills defense when the linebackers are coming up too fast. Our linebackers are sure tacklers and downhill kind of guys that can go sideline to sideline. They're not the greatest in pass coverage. They may look good from time to time, but they're not keeping up, especially with this group of elite wide receivers. This is probably the number one wide receiver group in the NFL that the Bills are going against today. So I hope the game plan is good. I hope, Frazier is ready for this kind of game, because, like I said, it's a playoff game. This is the atmosphere that the Bills have got to be ready to go in. So let's see what they got.
And also I think the way you stop this offense is you have to, I kind of mentioned it already, don't allow them to get one-on-one opportunities. They have Higgins, they have They have Chase. You don't want to allow them to take advantage of you if you have, if you present to them one-on-one coverage, man to man, they'll exploit that. They'll use that to their advantage, and they're gonna try to get you on a big play. So I think the Bills here, if they don't present that opportunity, and they stick with what's got them where they are, with a good solid zone scheme, and they work well together and keep those guys contained, they'll have a decent day against this Bengals offenses. And make sure you're set the tone and put Burrow on his butt a couple times. Make sure he's on his
let's
back.
talk about that. The Bengals offensive line, not the greatest, right? They struggled a lot early on in the season. I think they've gotten it going now, but the Bills need to be smart when sending pressure, right? Because that's where the Bills can get beat, is if you send an extra guy and Chase is either one-on-one, maybe T. Higgins is one-on-one. T. Higgins is huge. He is 6'100", bro, on that football field. Nobody can really touch him. I don't know. Did you watch a lot of the football games going on yesterday around the league?
Yeah, I did. I got a good chance to watch quite a bit, actually.
So there was a play, Miami and New England, when they were New England was around the 2-yard line, about to score, and they tossed it up to Jacoby Myers, and he basically just went up 10 feet in the air, caught it, came down really hard, actually hurt himself on the play. But that reminds me of what T. Higgins can do. He's so big. The Bills DBs are pretty small. Jacob came in a little late, said, sorry, I'm late. No worries, Jacob. Thanks for being here. Better late than never. 0 interceptions. That's a lot to ask. That's a lot to ask from Josh, especially lately. But I think turnovers could be huge in this game. What do you think of the Bills offense committing turnovers lately, Mike?
Yeah, I see. I kind of mentioned it a little bit. I don't want to see some of the bad decisions that he's made as of late. He's gotten better. There's some games where he's had 0. Josh has been good in certain areas of his game. He's improved, but against the Bears game, against the Bears in that game, he there was one where he got fooled. So I'll give him that. Sometimes it's not easy playing quarterback in the NFL. So he fell for a fake that a defensive back gave him, and he threw that ball up thinking he had one-on-one coverage for Isaiah McKenzie. They fooled him. And they got
terrible decision. And then on the other interception, that's just a bad throw. Not only is the running back not open, but it's not only the interceptions, Mike, because what we've noticed from Josh this season, and what we've noticed from Josh in past seasons as well, he fumbles. He fumbles quite a bit on those sacks. And part of it is because he's trying to make some magic happen and get something going. But I think you're on average, you're going to see 1 turnover from Josh, whether it be a fumble, whether it be an interception, an errant throw. I want to see more consistency. Myself and Akeem talk about consistency all the time with the Bills because it's the most important thing, right? The most important thing is to be playing your best football each and every week. Now, that's too much. It's too much to ask. But, man, they need to win this game. And then next week is no easier, Mike. New England just beat Miami. And with the win, New England is in the playoffs. I know, everybody in the chat knows how long the Patriots destroyed us, murdered us, did everything they could to stop us from having any kind of success. And now we can keep them out of the playoffs. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's an opportunity. You can't look past tonight yet, but if the Bills can pull it off and they can get a W against Cincinnati, then that's actually best case scenario, because then you're coming into that game against the Patriots with something to play for. The Bills will still be trying to hold on to the number 1 seed, so they're just as fired up as the Patriots are, and that gives more fuel to make sure that they don't get in. Because the Bills don't want to give up the number 1 seed to anybody. The whole goal is to make sure that the playoffs come through Buffalo. Josh even said it. He's tired of these hats, these division champs. Okay, great, but we've been here before, so I want more. And so I'm really hoping he proves that with a win tonight, and then we'll focus on the Patriots and make sure that they don't get in either, and the Bills hold on to the number 1 seed.
So I'm still waiting for the inactives from both the Bills and the Bengals. If anybody in the chat sees that, or Mike, if you see it, let us know. We'll get to that as soon as we can. I'm not seeing anything yet. Sarah says Poyer's playing and Hubbard's out. but I haven't seen any confirmation on that, Sarah. Thank you for the information. Do appreciate it. Mike, the Bengals, I don't hate them. And I don't know why, because I feel like I should. Anybody that the Bills play, I'm supposed to hate, right? That's just how it is, because it's football. You want your team to win. But I think Cincinnati is one of those teams that I can feel myself rooting for at times. Obviously not tonight. I'm not rooting for the Cincinnati Bengals. I want to make that clear. But do you think there's a healthy level of respect between these two teams, being of all the similarities of like the mediocrity for a while? I know Cincinnati was good enough to reach the playoffs, but they were never really a Super Bowl contending team during the Andy Dalton, AJ Green era. What do you think of this question here?
I think there is a healthy level of respect, and that's just because they haven't played against each other enough to create a rivalry. You know, there's when you start having games like the Bills have against the Chiefs, that becomes a rivalry because of how many times you've met now. You know, and you know they beat us. The Chiefs have won up the Bills
too
each
many
season.
Too many
times to where now it's a bitter taste in your mouth. Now you don't really feel. You know, you probably had respect maybe on the first go around, but now after the second time, like I dislike the Chiefs, and that's just because I'm annoyed by them that they keep getting in the way.
Always.
The Bengals and the Bills haven't met for a while.
The new Patriots for us. It's just
exactly like I was about to say. Like look at
in the way.
Yeah, you look at all that stuff, and that's why you end up having rivalries, and that's why you don't like certain teams, but. When it comes to the Bengals, there's a level of respect because we see what they're doing. They're a good football team, and the Bills haven't really played them much. So this is going to be a good time.
We have played them much, but we haven't played this Bengals team much.
Like, that's what I meant.
We play the Bengals pretty often, honestly, because usually if we finish first, they're finishing first. If we finish second, they finish second. So we kind of see them kind of often. But I want to get into the AFC playoff picture, Mike, and look around the league at exactly what's going on for the Bills, right? Because as of now, they sit at the number 2 seed, right? Because of Kansas City's victory yesterday. So Bengals are currently at number 3. Now, you consider both the Chiefs and the Bills a Super Bowl contender, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Are the Bengals in that same boat for you?
They are. I mean, these three teams, you look at how the roster's built. There's no denying that either one of these three teams has the capability to pull it off. You know, okay. Even after Kansas City has kind of struggled at late and hasn't been playing their best football, you still can't take anything away from them because they're still finding ways to win. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have Travis Kelce. They still have all the weapons that they normally have, you know, a minus Tyreek Hill, but they've been able to make that work also.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously with the Bills, look at the record. Look at the Bills' record right now. I mean, that speaks for itself. They found ways to win football games. It wasn't an easy schedule. They have had a lot of injuries, and they've still found ways to win. And the Bengals, they're getting hot right now, and each of these teams' record speaks for itself. And so, and they have the pieces to the puzzle that a lot of teams don't. They have a franchise quarterback. They have star players. They have a defense that can help their offense when it struggles. These things are important when you're building a franchise or building a contending team. And all three of those teams, including the Bills, have that. So you can almost it's anybody's game, and that's why tonight's so important, really.
Is that where it ends for you in terms of Super Bowl contenders in the AFC? Is Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals?
I think you got some sleepers. I mean, if the Chargers clinched,
the Chargers are in. Yep.
And
then you have Baltimore, who is clinched as well.
But Baltimore, unless they get Lamar Jackson back,
they're hoping for. I'm assuming they're ready to get him back. He has rested, I believe, the past 2 weeks. Probably next week as well, if I had to guess.
I would say I'm more afraid of the Chargers than I would be the Ravens at this point in the season. The Chargers are doing pretty good. I think they've played some solid football as of late, and Justin Herbert's not a bad quarterback. Their defense is pretty decent, and they have the same mold that the three teams that we were talking about, the Chiefs, Bengals, and Bills. I think that the Chargers aren't far off, or they're not far behind. I would call them a sleeper, though. I wouldn't really put them in the same bracket, but Football's crazy.
They always have their injuries too. The Chargers are always one of the most injured teams in football. Now, is it 2 versus 7? Is that how it happens? Because the number 1 seed's the only team with a bye, so it would be 2 versus 7, correct?
I believe so, because then it's actually no. I think it's
6?
1 versus 7, 2 versus 6.
Well, 1 versus okay, so but 1 doesn't play in the first round. So
I got you. You probably So it's the 7th seed against the 2nd seed. Yeah,
so
you're right.
As of now, that would be the New England Patriots. So if the Bills sit at number 2 and go to face the New England Patriots in the playoffs, I'm assuming you're confident that the Bills would be able to pick up the victory. If that's Miami and that's Tua, are you as confident that the Bills can take that game?
No. I mean, if I'm being honest, and that's just because of how much Miami has made the Bills struggle at times. I don't think that they played their best football against the Patriots. That wasn't the Miami team that I'd seen all season. They are on a losing streak, but I think it has a lot to do with the injuries that have taken place. Their coach also doesn't tend to make all the greatest calls in the world, but I think if they get Tua back, that's a different offense, and we saw how the last 2 matchups played out. The Bills won, but they won.
They're not expecting him back for this week. They're going into this week expecting Skylar Thompson to start in a must-win kind of game for the Miami Dolphins to try to get in the playoffs here. So Bills and Bengals, let's get back to it for a little bit. This is a game that we can see again. Most definitely, that this could be a repeat. Imagine if they played twice. They've never played, and then they play twice against each other in the same season. What do you think the Bills need to do on defense to keep the Bengals out of the end zone? You mentioned that you wanted the Bills to have long-lasting drives. So take me to the Bills' defense and what you think they need to do.
Well, so it starts with making sure that they because I feel like they're going to come in trying to get the run game going. I think that's what any team tries to do. They kind of probe a little bit, see where you're at with like what your game plan is. So they'll probably come at us a little. They'll probably come at the Bills a little bit with the run game first. Make sure first and foremost you shut that down early, so that's not an option for them. And then that's going to play into their strengths though. That they want to throw the football. They got Joe Burrow in that receiving corps, so they're going to want to throw the football. What you need to do after that, if you accomplish stopping the run, is making sure that you don't let Joe Burrow get comfortable. Make sure you make him move around in the pocket, get in his face, get your hands up, get some batted footballs, make him make some bad decisions to where you can get some turnovers early, and give Josh an opportunity to get some easy points. And what I mean by that is a short field. Get the ball back in your territory so that you can. In their territory, so you can get some easy points or a short field, so that you can turn that into some extra drives. And basically, what I'm getting at is, I know we don't have Von Miller, but I want to see this defensive line really perform tonight and get pressure on him and get sacks, get him on the ground, make it so that it's not a fun game tonight for him. And he doesn't have the time that he needs to get the ball, because they like to make big plays. They like to throw it deep because they have the guys to do it with. Mm-hmm. Don't allow that to be don't let that play develop. Get in there, get them uncomfortable, get them on the ground, set a tone. That's what they need to do. And these linebackers might be getting asked a little bit much, but if they have the proper safety help over top, which they've had a pretty good game plan throughout the season. Against the pass, I do love how Leslie Frazier knows how to do these things, where he does a good job at studying the tape, see what these teams do well, and take that away. So what I'm hoping is no big plays. They force them to take the underneath stuff, and if they beat us that way, well, then we didn't deserve the win anyways. Because if they're going to beat you by going underneath all the time, then you didn't come prepared. Because if you just come up, make the tackle, that gets old. And Joe Burrow will get impatient, and he's going to want to try to make a big play, and that's where you can get that mistake being made and get a turnover that you're looking for.
And the Bills are great at stopping those explosive plays. They really don't allow many of them, other than when they're playing Miami. Tyreek Hill is going to beat you. Jalen Waddle is going to beat you. Everyone, it's going to happen. Those guys are just too good. And I feel like this is another game where that can happen. It's another game where you can have Jamar Chase make a crazy catch. Remember Justin Jefferson's one-hander. And the last time the Bills lost was to Minnesota. That's insane that they've been on such a streak. It doesn't feel like that.
No.
It doesn't feel like the Bills are as hot as they are because they're not really blowing people out. Like, you can say they kind of blew out Chicago, but it didn't feel that way for most of the game. That was a close game up until the fourth quarter when the Bills finally put it away. I love that they intercepted Nathan Peterman. It made my day. I saw Peterman go in. I was like, please pick him off.
I said the same thing.
Just full circle for the Buffalo Bills. But you know what? I want to end this on a note of the football gods, Mike. Now, I'm not a very religious person myself. We're not going to talk about religion. We're going to talk about football religion. Do you believe in the football gods?
You almost have to. I mean, how do you watch? I played for so long, and then now I've been watching since I was a kid. I mean, you almost kind of you got to almost believe there's a higher power out there to pray to when it comes to football.
So the Bills have never, and you talked about this earlier. I like that you talked about this. You talked about the Bills not really having the luck, right?
No,
they don't have, where one team needs to win and then this team needs to lose, this team needs to tie, like all that. The Bills are not in that boat right now. The only thing they have to do is win. Now, it's a lot more difficult than the way I'm making it sound, but the Bills win these two games to the number one seed. That's just how it is. You need to win these games. This is the litmus test. The Cincinnati Bengals are the litmus test. You beat the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The Bills have beaten a lot of teams that, could have went the other way. They lost to the Jets, the Vikings, and who's the third loss? Why am I forgetting that right now? The Dolphins. That's the third loss. Dolphins. So really, they could have lost the other one to Miami, right? They could have lost to Kansas City again in the earlier week. Like, they really have shown out this season, and the Bills they need to show up. That's really it. If the Bills play their best game, you think they lose? I don't think so.
No, I don't think they do. They just and you're right. They have to win, and that's all they need to do. And like you said, that's easier said than done. But they've done so much this season to get to this point. You have to. It's within your grasp. It's in your control. They control their destiny for the rest of the season.
And it's not even moving from the 1 to the 2 seed that is so bad. It's possible that the Bills move from the 1 to the 3 seed.
Yeah.
And that's even worse because then no matter if Kansas City wins or if Cincinnati wins, you're traveling. The Bills do not want to travel. The weather here sucks, okay? It's good right now, but I would love for a team to have to come here and play in the snow. Let's get into our final thoughts before we sign off here, Mike. Bills and Bengals kickoff's about a little under 2 hours away. What do you want to say to the people before we sign off?
Guys, thanks for listening. I love doing the tailgate. We're always having fun here. I'm glad everyone wants to hear our thoughts for before the game starts. I think if I'm going to talk football, I really just want to see a big game. If I can put it out there from Matt Milano, he's been having a great season. I want that to continue. I hope he has a terror night where he's able to get in Joe Burrow's face if they send him on a blitz, cover well and when he needs to, and just shut that run down. I really just want to see him do exactly what he's been doing all season. He's one of my favorite players at this point. And I'd love to see him actually catch an interception. It keeps bouncing off of him. He's had opportunities, man.
He's always got his hands on the ball. He's got an eye for the football. He's got a nose to find it. The IQ from Matt Milano is insane. I'm gonna take it a step further. Let's see this secondary. If the Bills really have this great a secondary, what's realistic, right? Let's say for all three, Chase, Higgins, and Boyd, say under 200 yards combined, I think is a good mark that I would like to stay in.
That's a big ask.
You think so?
Yeah, that's a big ask. I mean, from a receiver core like that, that's a big ask. But I know where you're getting at, and it's just don't allow them to take over this game for sure.
Well, because once they do, what can the Bills do? Like the Bengals have a more explosive offense than the Bills at this point. I feel like in terms of their receivers. Let's look at. Okay, so those stats I mentioned may not be true because I just went to the Bengals last game, Mike, and T. Higgins went 8 for 128, and Jamar Chase went 8 for 79. And
this is what I'm saying.
And Boyd went 3 for 21. So that might be a little too much. Let's just keep him out of the end zone. How about a shutout? Is that a possibility?
No, no, not a shutout, but like maybe 20 points. You know, I think you keep them to 20 and you score 20, or you score more than 20. You got this.
Okay, I like that. I'm not against that. I know you and I aren't the biggest on score prediction, so I'm not going to make you do it. But
no.
Bills or Bengals? I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. I mentioned it on the Conflict of Interest. If you guys aren't aware, Conflict of Interest, my show with Akeem Richens each and every Tuesday, 8:45 here on the Built in Buffalo Network. I can't change it, so give me the Bills.
Oh, no, I'm going Bills. I'll even throw a score prediction in there. I had said let's hold them to 20.
Okay.
So they'll do 21 because they'll get 3 touchdowns. But let's do, 27-21 Buffalo. Just a one score game.
So you think you're thinking three touchdowns, 2 field goals? No.
I don't care how they do it.
20. I think you're looking for 28 more than 27 there. I think 28.
I am looking for 28, but I'm expecting something strange to happen I
like it.
Where we're ending up.
I want to leave you guys with this last note that is one of these stats that is really surprising, right, Mike? You look at the AFC playoff picture, right? Kansas City, obviously, first-round quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, right? Josh Allen, first-round quarterback. Joe Burrow, first-round quarterback. Justin Herbert, first-round quarterback. Lamar Jackson, first-round quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, first-round quarterback. Mac Jones, first-round quarterback. Every single quarterback in the AFC playoffs was taken in the first round. If you go to the NFC, there's only one quarterback taken in the first round. The Eagles have Jalen Hurts, who was taken in the second round. The 49ers are starting Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant, taken in the 7th round. Minnesota Vikings with Kirk Cousins, taken in the 4th round. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady, obviously taken in the 6th round. Dak Prescott was a 4th round pick. Daniel Jones of the New York Giants. And then the Seattle Seahawks are the team that's in the hunt with Geno Smith, who was taken in the 2nd round. One quarterback in the NFC playoffs was taken in the first round. Isn't that insane?
It is, but it also goes to show you that, it doesn't always necessarily matter where they get drafted. I
think it does matter. I think it does matter. Green Bay City.
It does if you want to compare records and stats. Yeah,
still fighting. So before we go, just because I want to get one more question in with you, I don't talk to Mike very often, so I want to get one more question in, Mike. Who do you think is coming out of the NFC to get to the Super Bowl?
I mean, you got to go with the Eagles are flying high. The only reason why they're not is because they got Gardner Minshew in there, and he's not doing horrible.
He played terrible. He played.
Yeah, and then I think last week he didn't do too great. He had a better game the week before, but you got to get Hurts back out there. But once he is, they're a team that you just can't mess with. I think they have the capability to do this whole thing. Minnesota's got a good team, but I just don't think that they're going to do it. I think they'll disappoint their fan base like they kind of always do.
Minnesota to me was one of those teams that was just having the ball bounce their way, have the greatest comeback ever in a regular season game against the Colts, beat the Bills with the Hail Mary, beat the Giants on a almost record-breaking field goal. Minnesota's had the ball bounce their way. And then Brady gets lucky, and the defense shows out and plays well for him yesterday. He could have lost that game. They could have lost that game to the Carolina Panthers. It could have came down to the final week, but Brady's in the playoffs. Got to worry about him. But for right now, the Buffalo Bills, all they have to do is win, no matter what. A little bit of a throwback there, Mike. Give everybody the sign off here.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, again, thanks for watching. This is the Built in Buffalo Network. This is the Tailgate. We do the pregame show every week. You can always catch me on the QB on my show QB Sneak, and I'm always willing to talk shop. I have Twitter. It's Mike Shimberski at MIKOL2531. And anytime you guys want to talk about something I said or one of the shows, that QB Sneak is every Saturday at 1:00. You can catch that on our Facebook page. And Dan Kelly, thanks for jumping on and doing this with us. Next week, Sauce Scott will be back, but we always love having Dan on. We did this for a long time before we turned it to the Tailgate.
I love being back on the pregame show, guys. Don't miss my show each and every Tuesday. Conflict of Interest, 8:45 p.m. Myself and Akeem Richens. And lastly, and always, go Bills.
Go Bills.